Welcome to Nasdaq Trade Talks. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq, with daily insight on the Nasdaq 100 Index, or the NDX, which is made up of 100 of the largest domestic and international non-financial innovative companies listed right here on the Nasdaq stock market. The NDX has been a barometer for U.S. large cap growth and also one of the best performing indexes over the last decade and a half, not to mention one of the most liquid index ecosystems in the world. Joining me this afternoon, we have Ryan McCormack. He's the QQQ ETF strategist over at Invesco. Ryan, it's great to have you with me as always. And speaking of NDX performance, doing quite well today, not to mention actually up on the year.
Thanks, Jill. And it's great to be here as always. Yeah, another great day from QQQ and really the markets on the whole, which, frankly, it might be a little surprising when you look at the GDP numbers that came out this morning that showed annualized contraction of 4.8%, first contraction we've seen since 2014, I believe. Beyond that, personal consumption numbers were not great, pending home sales, et cetera. But this market's really being bolstered by optimism around Gilead's treatment for COVID. So, I think that combined with, a lot of these states coming out and talking about potential plans of opening up the economy has sort of bolstered markets in the face of somewhat sobering news this morning.
All right. Let's take a look at earnings. In particular, as we have the Nasdaq 100 heavyweights starting to report this week. We just had Alphabet report last night.
We did, yeah. So you're right. As we talked about last week, this is sort of the big week of earnings. We have Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, Facebook all reporting within the next 2 days, and Alphabet was last night. The stock is actually one of the best contributors to Qs in the Nasdaq 100 today. And we saw some interesting trends here. We kind of talked last week about looking through the transcripts, and unsurprisingly, when you look through the earnings transcript and the comments from management, and particularly Sundar Pichai, a lot of talk of COVID, right? And frankly, a lot of uncertainty. They talked about a tale of two quarters, where it was essentially the first 80 days of the quarter and then the next 10 days. That being said, you did see pretty decent results, and I think a theme of this earnings season may be not as bad. $41.2 billion in revenue for the quarter. That's up 13% year over year and 15% up on a constant currency basis. They discussed acceleration of movement of business over to digital, which is something that is not all that surprising, right? As you look at where we stand right now in the global economy, you have unprecedented numbers of workers working from home. So we're going to see that transition to digital. And frankly, Alphabet was kind of there to pick that up. Very excited about the incredible enhancements they've seen from the work from home ecosystem, from education, from medicine, shopping, entertainment. Just to throw some quick numbers out there, there's 100 million users of Google Classroom. They saw a 400% increase year over year in Chromebook orders for the week of March 21st, which is kind of where this COVID really started ramping up. 3 million new users a day to Google Meet. Some pretty solid momentum as we see this shift to digital. And, they talked about the fact that they're very well positioned to take advantage of some of these longer term trends, along with a lot of the work that they're doing in the cloud. So overall, I think a pretty good earnings report, for the first of the so-called Big Five of QQQ and Nasdaq 100. So it'll be interesting to see if we see similar commentary from some of the other heavyweights as they report this week.
All right, Ryan, and let's wrap up with our last chart here. This is a Q versus the S&P 500, and we can see that these modern day industrials that are really driving the economy, you're seeing that in the performance with this chart.
You are. I think people are realizing that the shift to digital and the constituents of the Nasdaq 100 and QQQ are well positioned to not only handle this, but to capitalize on it. As we're looking real time, even we have Qs up near 3% on the year. S&P down, a little bit over 8%. So we're seeing that consistent outperformance. And again, as you said, these 21st century industrials very well positioned to capitalize on the shift to this new normal and working from home type environment.
All right, Ryan, great to have you on as always. Thanks so much for joining us on Trade Talks.
Thanks, Jill. Take care.
All right, and thanks for joining me. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq.